You were dying.
Oh
Like
man.
I'm on my 87th set of my workout. I'm almost done.
I am free. I have no doggy right now. Little Chippington is at puppy training camp. His,
Oh,
his trainer sent me a photo.
what are
I don't
we
know if you
teaching
guys,
him?
can you see? He's on the couch there.
Aw. What's he
Oh,
learning today?
I don't know. Uh, it's just pretty much just, I mean, he's a very obedient little dude. It's just
yeah.
to be able to fly with him and stuff. So we're gonna try to get him a little bit more chill because when he's
Man,
out in public, he just wants to play.
yeah.
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 So when you initially said you weren't going to be able to bring him, why?
What do you mean?
Why couldn't you bring him initially?
Oh, because typically I get flagged because I have this little thing, the little service dog thing.
Hmm.
I paid for that. I got him a new one that's more legit apparently by this dog trainer. But what I would get flagged for is I don't have a trainer. Like on the DOI thing for the Department of whatever the fuck, you have to put down like who trained the dog, and I would just say me, and they
Mm.
don't. Yeah, they don't allow that. So I was like, okay, I'll just pay for a little puppy training camp. So he's there all day until 5:30.
So that would allow him to move with you?
Wow.
Um, I don't know about moving yet because the whole thing with moving, it's just we don't want it to be unfair to Chip because I'm gonna be coming back here to compete. We're gonna be traveling like if Tar has to go to like the UK for team days and things, and if I can go with him like in prep, it's just a lot of travel for a little chicken nugget. But yeah.
Would your mom take him if not?
Yeah, my parents are taking him.
Okay,
Yeah. So, I mean, once we're more like settled and I'm not like competing and traveling everywhere, like, yeah, I'll take him over there for sure.
good.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I want to be dog training. No, just kidding. I just want to train. Good segue, Ash. No, but literally, like Meg is an MVP because like when I like was squatting 300 and I tore my rib, like that is thankfully healed. But now because of that location was, now my lat on my left side's kind of fucky. And so like I showed her a video of me doing like an upper back pull down, and you can see my left side is like a lot more elevated because my right lat is like so weak. So I'm having to like do some strengthening on that left side, but it literally feels like a knot. Like I just want to take like a needle and just go and like just pop it, but I know it needs like some stimulation and stuff like that. So Meg was a real one and giving me, well, one, talking me off a ledge, and two, actually like
Yeah.
helping me with some quality exercises to help.
Gonna make a program for you. Get the lats and traps under control.
Yeah, like we're gonna talk about hard training today and like really hard training, but something that's also hard and that can be a part of hard training is hard like mobility exercises, because as bodybuilders we're very strong, but usually our mobility is trash. Like doing those
Yeah.
IYTs, I'm like,
Girl, yeah.
I felt like a pussy. Like I was
Yeah.
like doing the 2.5s, and when that was too hard, I have little plate mates that are like magnetic that are like 1.25, and I was like,
Yeah, honestly, I would just, well, one, you can do body weight, obviously, but
mhm.
just like like the old people who like power walk in the mall, they wear like the 1 pound wrist things.
Yep.
Get those. Shein sells them for like nothing. I don't know why Shein sells them,
I was
but
gonna say, why do they sell those?
I don't know.
Shein sells
They sell
everything.
everything.
They
I
sell
use
everything.
Shein as Amazon because I can't
You
use
can't buy on
Amazon.
Amazon.
Right,
I
absolutely.
have my Ash.
So funny.
Ash is on. God, I'm a terror.
Amazon.
But yeah, I'm super excited to talk about today's topic because like I feel like there's a shift lately of people who actually are wanting to train hard, but especially the women, right? Because I don't know
Oh,
about you guys, when I first started like my bodybuilding journey, like I didn't train hard. I wish there was like a better adjective to describe how I trained, because I thought it was hard training, but in reality, it was just like brutal mutilation with high volume. Like I was trying to pull up like one of my initial programs, and if I can find it, I'll actually like put it up on the screen. But it was like, I think there were 13 different exercises, and the reps ranged from 6 to 25. And the working sets, mind you, working sets ranged from 3 to 6. So that one workout would take me about 3.5 hours.
Is that what you showed me?
Yes.
Remember you showed, oh,
Yes. And
it
I
had
will
like jump
show,
squats and
yeah, I'll have Eric like put it up somehow to show the
that's
audience
funny.
what I'm talking about. But literally, it took me 3.5 hours. And I thought that was hard, right? Because it was hard, but it wasn't hard, intentful training. It was just brutal mutilation because of junk volume. Like,
Triathlon training. Fuck.
I know. Can y'all relate? Did y'all do that?
Oh,
Because that
yeah.
was what my
Oh,
first
yeah.
coach did.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Wait, your coach designed that for you?
Dude, you, someone
Yeah, she paid
talk
for
while
this.
I pull it up.
She
Oh, boy. I
paid
mean,
for
I
Oh,
this.
hold on.
myself, but I would never have paid for that.
Yeah.
But when I was doing things like that, I was more so like I had zero knowledge of like, I'm going to do this exercise. I saw that person doing it. I should do that. And then I'm going to make this circuit that I'm going to continue and just do this every day.
Yeah. She was a little impressionable, young Ash. She didn't know any better.
Oh my gosh. Like,
know
it's
who
just
your coach
even
was.
looking at it, like, I'm going to take a
Yeah, it was hard to
screenshot
even read.
and text it to you guys because
Yeah,
it's going to be really good. So I can actually see your like live reaction. But Laura, the one that I'm referring to is the top one. It's called legs and glutes. So I just sent it to the group chat. Yeah. So that first workout took me, I would say 3.5 hours. So mind you, that's my training session for the day. And then while I was in prep, okay, I had hit cardio and steady state. So I'd be at the gym for like 4 or 5 hours.
I love the jump squat, superset lunge, and then you go into walking lunge. And then, oh wait, no, you have walking lunge, superset jump squats, and then jump squats, superset lunge, and then walking lunge. And then you finish off with donkey kicks. I've never seen donkey kicks like actually programmed. I love it. But hey,
So as you might imagine,
donkey kicks, just
like it would be the banded donkey kicks, right? So you'd be like
yeah.
quadruped with like a booty band because he had booty bands.
Do we need like a tutorial? I can,
Dude, literally, like,
for those tuning in on YouTube.
Yeah.
God, donkey kicks. I used to do that shit all the time in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Like the line like abduction. I
The
was
like the Tumblr
I'm
workouts.
building an
Are
ass.
you
Yeah.
sure you misunderstand where it says 5 sets, that it was supposed to be 5 total sets, like a warm up, a second warm up, 2 working, a back off?
That was probably when like that shit didn't really exist. It was just
Yeah.
like 5 sets of 10, 3 sets, and
Yeah.
you were like, oh, okay. So you probably like built up and weight, like maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. To him, these were all working sets. So I was like, okay.
You were dying.
Oh
Like,
man.
I'm on my 87th set of my workout. I'm almost done.
I'm almost done, guys. Oh my gosh, no. So
Dude,
yeah, that was
wow.
my experience into training hard. Then when I got my second coach, that was when training videos started to be a thing that coaches would request. And thank God, right? Because that was when his feedback was like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is a like pussy set. So like I actually got invested into when it comes to like learning how to train hard, but it was a big mental barrier because I mistook like obviously high volume for being difficult in its own way versus like actually being intentional and learning what true failure is in terms of like the weight wins, you lose.
I think that a lot of clients don't fully understand that, at least initially, when you're like, okay, well, your movement pattern is good, but now I say this a lot to people, but we need to add some intensity to that. And they're like, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, okay, so in basic terms, like just because you're driving your elbow back for, a single arm row or whatever, a double row, actually do that intentionally, like drive that fucking elbow back with like force, as opposed to just like, okay, so I'm starting from point A and I'm getting to point B. That's what I'm doing, right? That's what I'm supposed to be doing. Just kind of like going through the motions more so than like being intentional with them.
Yeah, I think that's important. Like kind of differentiating between like what intent is and what intensity is. Like the intent, we're trying to teach all of us are trying to teach our athletes like understanding the proper intent behind like movement selection, um, like why they're performing a certain movement, how to perform it correctly, the intention of actually, like Laura said, like not just moving it from A to B, but how are we moving it from A to B? So that's really going to encompass like the intent behind the movements. But then learning true intensity, I think it's more of like a mental thing, truly. Because you can, I mean, I request videos from my athletes too, and I'm just like, you can do more, you can do more. And it's really all up in your head. And that's the hard, I mean, the brain is not a muscle, I get it, but it's the hardest thing to train is your brain for
Yeah.
sure when it comes to that.
Yep.
I would agree wholeheartedly. I know for myself, it's like if I have someone that like is more of an experienced competitor, they get it a lot more quickly than someone that's completely new. Duh,
Oh yeah.
right? So I don't know how you guys program, but I'm in the camp that believes the younger you are in terms of your training age and kind of like up here when it comes to training, you are going to need more volume because you don't know how to connect with the muscle yet versus someone that's like Meg, like yeah, she might take like a few warm-up sets, but her connection with her glutes and her quads is going to be much more there the first few initial contractions versus someone who's never picked up a dumbbell before because they don't know really like what is a quad, what is a glute, like what should I be feeling, right? So usually I'll program like more working sets or maybe even higher rep ranges so that way they start to like recognize what a burn feels like. And then from there, it's like when we have training videos and then we're working on like proper form and technique, obviously they start developing that better connection. They start getting more confident in executing the movements. And then their recovery is like, oh, yeah, like since I'm connecting better with the muscle tissue, I'm feeling much more sore, not as refreshed and recovered. Then that's when that training volume for me starts to go down. So it's like, okay, now we can like really get them hard sets. So we don't need as many sets to have the, overall goal of training that muscle.
Yeah, I agree. I think, um, I would never give some like new mom of like a newborn or something like, oh yeah, you're only gonna do one top set and one back off set. She's gonna be like, what the fuck is that? Like, no, we do like 3 to 4 working sets. We're not really even focusing on like, oh, do 2 warm-up sets. Like, I don't overcomplicate it.
Mhm.
I'm just like, here are your notes, here's the tempo.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't try to overcomplicate it at all. And
When
then
I'm
once what?
No, go ahead. You go
No,
first.
I was just saying like once they do kind of go into a more intermediate, place with training and I feel comfortable to program just 1 to 2 sets to still get our desired outcome, then I will. But definitely talking to that athlete, explaining why are we reducing the volume down to that, but keeping like the intensity high. That's definitely something you need to talk about.
Mhm.
I
What are you
fairly
gonna say?
I fairly recently changed how I've been programming things for athletes.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I think when giving initial programs, it can be overwhelming and a little bit confusing. And because I do request all of my athletes to send me training videos, what I'll do is I will have like what the exercise is. I'll give them rep ranges for what, so, for example, say it's an exercise, I want them doing 4 sets. The first is going to be a warm up. This, I want you to hit 12 to 15 reps. Second is going to be a touch set. I want you to hit 4 to 6 reps. Third is going to be your first working set, 6 to 8, take it to failure. Then the fourth one is going to also be a working set, higher rep range, 12 to 15, take it to failure as well. I haven't been giving tempos and cues and all of those types of things right off the rip because I feel like they don't retain it and actually
Yeah.
apply it. So I let them move first because I'm seeing the movement, and then I'll start implementing the cues as to how to execute it because I think that it's something they'll mentally connect with better. And since and honestly, I've been kind of toying with this for the last month or so with onboarding new people. And it's been really helpful because it's not like too many different things. Like you were saying, like, here's your top set, here's your back off, here's your one. Oh, like, and people are like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
been helpful.
Yeah, I think that's smart. With the tempo, like I don't get crazy with it for new beginners. It's mainly just like that, 1 count up, control the weight. So it's just teach them how to actually control the weight. But like you said, like once you get those initial videos, like seeing how they just naturally move the weight, then you can kind of individualize the tempos a lot better for sure.
And I think that's where like having videos is really, really helpful because like obviously like a program is a static thing. That's like a
Yeah.
static Google sheet or however you send over your athletes programming. But since we're doing online coaching sessions for, at least Meg and I, obviously Laura does also in person, but that's when you get the video from your athletes so you can see them move. And then that way, generic notes that you may be programmed can now be really, really specific for them. So we can look at like, okay, well, maybe they have really bad ankle mobility. Maybe, you can see that their knees are caving in on a squat. Okay, maybe we need some better warm-up movements or warm-up activities or better cues when it comes to like foot pressure and stuff like that. But I think honestly, one of the best tools that we have as online coaches is the ability to review these training videos,
Oh,
right? Like, go ahead, Laura.
no, I say, oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
absolutely.
And that's something where it's like, I wish I would have like understood the benefit when I first started out coaching. Cause obviously you become a macros coach when you first start. Here's your training program where it's like 3 to 4 reps, 8 to 15 reps for every exercise. And yeah, coach, I did my training this week. And then it's like, damn it, I wish I would have had videos, right? Because like I could have gotten them better results. I could have, obviously refined my sharpening skills as a coach because, I guarantee you, even though Meg and I are the same height, we do not have the same like tibia length, femur length. We have different insertions and stuff like that. She probably has better ankle mobility than I do, because she, used to be, in athletics where I was in athletics, but I always sprained my ankles a lot and I broke my foot and stuff like that. So like my mobility isn't the same as Meg. So even though we're the same height, we are going to move differently. And that's something that, damn it, like it makes me, what's that Arthur meme where it's like, like you just like
Yeah, the little
curl
fist.
your fist and it's like, damn it.
I think it can also really disable somebody from being able to progress their physique without seeing the move. I recently had a girl start who's actually a bikini competitor, had been with a coach prior, like has done national level shows and whatnot. And on her like initial consult, we were kind of discussing some limitations that she has due to like lower back pain and possibly a herniated disc and whatnot. So when I was devising her program, I literally said to her, I was like, what movements are you currently doing for lower body that don't elicit pain? So like we can program it so you're not in pain and getting the most out of this. So I did that. And then she's sending me the videos of her moving, and 1,000% is not her back's fault. It's how she moves. And now we're being able to implement a lot more exercises and different variations of things because nobody actually took the time to say, okay, well, let me see what you're doing so we can actually grow your glutes so you can connect with them by doing exercises appropriately. Because she has almost hypermobility to her back that is more so the issue than it being bone derivative. So we're kind of scrapping everything she told me, and I'm now taking the reins of her training and like asking for front, side, quarter views of everything she's doing so I can like hit every little detail, because I think that we will really be able to make some headway now that I have a visual of what's actually happening.
Yeah. And I think that that's good to know as well because I have an athlete. I actually train with her here locally, Callie. She's going to be competing in bikini, but looking at her physique, you can already tell she's like 95% femur in her legs. Like she's just got some long legs. So initially I did have like hack squats or did I have hack squats program for her, but we had to make like adjustments to how she was actually performing the hack squat. Like I could say, oh, bring your heels down to make it more quad bias and like drive the knees forward. But even like little cues like that, they don't, carry over to every single individual. Like seeing them move and getting feedback from the athlete, like, how does this feel is very important because if it just feels like shit and like mentally they're like, okay, this sucks, I'm not feeling it where I should, they're not going to be able to bring that intensity. They're not going to be able to progress how they should. So that's also important considering like different femur lengths and all of that. Like we're all very different athletes, so we have to be individual in our training too.
Absolutely. And I
This is
think
like a
once we like,
spotlight. Sorry.
no, you're good. I love like you're like glowing over there. I love it.
That was
But what, Laura?
you look like you set the mood. It's like dimmed in the
I know.
background.
She's like,
No, it's just fucking stormy here.
dude,
It's
same.
so terrible.
Same. But I think once we like establish like proper lifting and proper techniques, this is where the intensity needs to be generated, right? And for a new athlete specifically, like we already kind of initially touched on, it's really up here first. But what I like to do is I don't like, for example, I'm not gonna be like, okay, failure, barbell back squat, go. Right. It's like we're gonna, I mean, you can do that, but I 0 out of 10 would not recommend, right? We start with like more safe exercises. So like leg curl, for example,
Mhm.
leg extension, like something where you're not going to get, unless you're a real special person, you are not going to get injured using these machines, especially when we've put in like effort and intention on learning how to use the equipment, set up, stuff like that. Exactly. You have to be a real special person. But then it's like, okay, yes, this is our rep range 10 to 12, for example, and you've been like stopping at 12. Next week, I want you to set up your camera on your tripod or your water bottle. And with all the cues that we have implemented in the previous form feedbacks, this week, I don't want you to count the reps. I just want you to go. I want you to go until you cannot. I'm like, not up here, but your
Mhm.
muscles, right? Just go. And when they finally understand where they're like maybe grunting, your facial features, like, you know, you almost look like you're trying to like pass a kidney stone or like a really big turd, and it's like you're, you know, you look like you're in pain. That's it. That's the level of intensity when it comes to true failure. And I think it would be good to dive into like true failure and like mechanical failure, because I think that would be important to touch on. But doing like a machine-based exercise, like true failure to the point where like you are trying to, like, let's say extend your leg for a knee extension, and it's like you're trying to kick through water, where like you are just putting forth whatever effort you can and your quads here, it's supposed to be here, and you're just stuck. That's it. You're done. Go home, get a Gatorade, sit down.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, if you're new to training, it's going to be intimidating to go to failure your first time. So, like Ash is saying, like doing it in a more stable environment. So, like things like a hack squat, I know it sounds scary, but if you fail at the bottom, you fail at the bottom, you crawl out. It's, I know people are like, oh, I'm so like, I'm embarrassed. Like, I don't want to fail. Hmm. I fail all the fucking time. And I would consider myself a more advanced lifter. And you know, failure is just part of growth. And I think it's that mental kind of barrier that we need to push past. And like, I don't know, it's like people just view failing as like, you know, like they're weak or they can't do it. It's like you don't know until you try. And you know, it's gonna help us determine your overall effort level. So asking for a spot, having a good training partner, that would help, but also using like these machines, these like hack squats, even some leg presses are safe to fail in. Some you're gonna end up with your knees by your ears, but like, I mean, you have to
So
choose it
proud.
wisely. Yeah. But
Go ahead, Laura. You were saying something.
I
yeah,
was gonna
you
say,
were,
I get excited on sets that I like fail and get buried on because then I know
yeah,
that
I
I
love it.
took it as
Mhm.
far as I could.
It does
Yeah.
kind of piss me off if I have to like strip the weight off and then move it back up if I have another set, but it
Yeah.
is what it is.
You grab somebody else, you're like, hey, on three, let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I think Meg touched on something really important about ego. And I pulled up a text that I sent an athlete, right? And I want to pull up said text so I don't butcher my words. But she had sent me a pendulum squat. And we all know that pendulum squats suck. And if you've never had the pleasure of using a pendulum squat machine, they suck, right? You go from 35 pounds to 40 pounds, and it is unreal how different that 5 pound increment feels. But I told her this. I was like, any ego should be left at the door. You can pick it
Mhm.
back up from childcare services when you're done training. Because when you truly are in the gym to train and you fail, like that is where you win, right? This is where that mental fortitude, that muscle, that brain flex is developed, right? Because when you are learning truly how to train and push yourself, that's where that mental fortitude really does become developed as a bodybuilder, which that is so important to develop in any stage, but especially when it comes down to contest prep, right? Because like if you can show yourself just how strong you can be in the gym and what a bad bitch you are, like talk about female empowerment, like as much as like the self-care, self-love movement is fine and all, like show me that like you can push yourself on a fucking leg press machine until you feel like you're gonna like poop yourself. Like that to me is like some mental fortitude that is not taught in any like self-help book, right? Because at the end of the day, it's you versus you. It's how far are you willing to dig deep and push yourself to get what you want, which for us, it's bigger glutes, bigger legs, especially you ladies, bigger legs. And for me, bigger glutes.
Mm-hmm.
Figure all of it. Lower anything belly button down.
Belly button down. Yeah. Um, I think another important thing to kind of touch on is that adding in more set intensifiers doesn't really always equate to true intensity. Like people are like obsessed with this. Oh, I need to add more volume, and like do like 5 drop sets and like all these super sets. Like, okay, like cool, bro. But like, are you actually able to take one straight working set to failure and push yourself to like a new freaking level? That's more impressive to me than doing like a triple drop set with partials and all this shit. Like, I mean, yeah, there's a time and place to add in these set intensifiers, rest pause sets, super sets, whatever, but that's not going to really help you learn how to truly push yourself, I think, personally. Yeah, you'll feel more of a burn, but I think really pushing to like through one straight set is going to teach you more about your true effort in the gym than those intensifiers would.
Totally. I think if you're really pushing for growth too, I would
Yeah, yeah,
probably not do those at all in that
yeah,
time. That may be something more appropriate, like Ashley was saying, for someone newer to training and learning how to like push themselves to a point that they are achieving some sort of failure.
yeah,
Or if you're trying to push fat loss, I think that that would be more so like having a little bit more volume or intensity is obviously going, if they're burning more calories in their workout, it can assist with the fat loss process as well.
How I
yeah,
use intensifiers for me is as an ad need, like as a needs analysis, but really I primarily use them to drive volume when they're not able to recover from another straight set,
mm,
or it's like a time saver. So for me, I'm a big believer in doing things like muscle rounds, which is like a cluster set. So it's like you perform a certain number of reps, let's say 6, for example, you rest 3 to 4 breaths, and then you go for as many rounds as you can, usually up until 6 sets. Well, that's just one thing. And you have multiple like stimulating reps or multiple points of failure where it's like that's your only thing and then you move on. But
yeah,
in my opinion, you have to earn those intensifiers. Like Meg was saying, like we don't just put intensifiers in because you don't know how to take a true set to failure. You learn
mhm,
how to do, the dirty deed beforehand. And then, especially if we're doing an enhanced growth phase where we don't want to add another working set for either time or recovery purposes, but we want to like titrate volume up, then it's like, okay, well, maybe let's do a rest pause, or maybe we have like a single drop set. But it's like, I have seen some programs and I've done some programs where everything's a drop set or a superset, or there is another one where it's like sets of literally 100. Like I don't know if you've ever done 100s before, but the idea is you pick a weight that you can do 25 reps
mhm,
with, and then maybe you lower the weight and try to do another 20 reps, but like you try to accumulate 100 reps in a certain number of like minutes. And like that to me was hell, and it wasn't productive. Like I didn't grow the way I wanted to grow because it was just useless volume at that point. So you have to like develop a fine line between like what's going to stimulate growth versus what's going to dig you into a recovery hole.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
good.
And I think, I mean, like one set intensifier that I do like adding in, kind of in a like a fatigue management sense is rest pause sets. So if I have an athlete that's like deep into prep or even like just deep into a dieting phase, sure, joint health may take like a little bit of a hit here. So pushing to failure may could be unsafe in a way, that deep into like a fatigued dieting phase. So adding in like a rest pause set where you're pushing to maybe like 1 to 2 shy of failure, rest for like 10 counts, 10 deep breaths, and then keep going, that could be safer. Or having a training partner, a spotter that you trust, to push you through like force reps. That's also a good way to kind of learn how to push to failure. um, but yeah, that's a really good intensifier that I enjoy personally.
Yeah, I know when we were training together at MI40 and like that you weren't helping me much and I wasn't helping you much, but on those like seated leg curls, the last like little bit of range of motion where your like
Yeah.
hamstrings had already kind of failed at that level where they couldn't get the full range of motion, and just like using a single index finger to help
Yeah.
force that rep, like holy shit, it's awful. But honestly, like we could even have a whole nother podcast on training partners and stuff like that, because I think that would be beneficial. But
Yeah.
getting someone that either trains harder than you or is willing to at least match your intensity level, I think that's so important. I know Eric is kind of like my training partner. Like I've posted clips on Instagram. Y'all have seen how supportive he is, but it took him a long time to be able to generate that level of intensity for me, because I told him, I was like, listen, you're trying to be my husband at the gym. I can't have that. I can't have you be my husband at the gym. I need you to be my training partner. So like, this is a hall pass. You get to say whatever you want to say to me as long as it helps me to push myself. And so he'll be like in my ear being like, you're going to get last call outs. You're a failure, like using my fears against me. But I need that. Right. And honestly, as fucked up as it sounds, I feel so loved when we walk out of the gym together, because that man wasn't my husband. He was my training partner. He was wanting me to fail so that way I would succeed. And I think that's so important to have like a supportive gym partner like that who isn't going to let you bitch out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people, myself included, like I don't like asking for spots. I typically just train alone. I'm a lone wolf in that sense. But I even like, so we'll get into kind of like what we're doing right now with our training here in a few, but Tar is doing my training right now. And I even texted him last night when I was at MI40. I'm like, I need a spot, but I don't want to ask for a spot. Like I might just leave. I might just call it. I'm not training. And he was like, that's actually pathetic. So I ended up asking some older gentleman at MI40 who I've watched him train. I like creep on people when they train. I'm like, he knows, he gets it. He gets it. So I was like, hi, can you spot me? I hate it. I just feel like such a bother. But like he's like, yeah, let's go. And then he saw like when like I mentally tap into sets, like I'm not trying to be like buddy buddy with like my spotter. I'm like, you're here, push me. And he did. And he was like kind of shocked, but like I'm like, that's what I need. So I kept going back to him like for each hack squat, for each leg press. I was like, hi, me again. But I think people get in their head like about asking for spots. And I know I have like a resting bitch face at the gym. I don't look very approachable. But like if like a girl, a younger girl, or maybe just a newer trainee came up to me and asked for a spot, I would be like, yes. Like I want to spot you. I want to be able to push you. So do you guys have any tips that you give your athletes for like getting over that fear of like asking for a spot, or even like asking their partner to kind of spot them and push them?
Laura, go first.
I actually have a client who the other day sent me a video of her husband spotting one of her
Mm-hmm.
pets, and I was cueing her on how to cue him to spot her,
Yeah.
because that's another thing, is not everybody knows how. And like
Mm-hmm.
when I was first watching the video, I was dying laughing because she was in a Smith squatting, and he's literally cupping under her butt with his hands and trying to lift her up.
No.
And I thought it was a joke at first to like be funny. And I was
It,
like, wait a second, was this intentional, you guys, for like for the video? And she's like, no, he does it
yeah.
every time. I was like, okay,
Oop.
well, first off, like
Oh my God.
I love that. That's
Let's
so
go
funny.
to how we do this. But I think that one of the biggest things is telling people like this is something that we all do. Like, so it's
Mhm.
not like you feel like you're alone doing it. I'm lucky for the fact that like I train at the gym that I also work at, that I also train clients at all the time, that like everybody kind of knows everybody, and it's a bodybuilding gym.
Mhm.
So like there's not a single person in there that I would feel like I can't ask, because like everybody knows everybody already. Or and if you don't, it's just like the environment is like a working environment, that it's not like an uncomfortable situation. But I get that not everybody has that type of scenario. So in that, I mean, my first suggestion would be look, like Meg said, look around to see how people are training,
Mhm.
because I wouldn't want to ask somebody that's gonna be like, yeah, I'll spot you, and then is like this and like turns their head the other
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Like somebody that actually is into their training, not necessarily has to be the biggest person in the gym, but at least somebody that is executing decent form and whatever on their own, because at least then you feel that they're going to be locked into helping you. That would
Mhm.
be my
Mhm.
first suggestion. And then just asking somebody if they even mind. Some people may not want to do that, or if they're comfortable doing it. Some people may not be comfortable giving a spot. So kind
Yeah.
of having that conversation before you even go through with progressing forward would be my
Mhm.
suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you've had a spot before and you prefer a certain way of spotting over the other, definitely tell your spotter that. Like, I don't train upper anymore, but like when I would ask people for spots for like shoulder press or even chest press, for example, and they are trying to spot me at my wrist, I'm like, hold up, like elbows, my guy. Like, I never liked the whole wrist spot because I just feel like I'm all over the place. So I want them at my elbows pushing me up.
Yeah.
Same thing for like hack squats. Like I don't want someone personally like doing mini force reps when they see like an ounce of like, oh, this is moving a little bit slower. I want to struggle for those reps. So telling them like, okay, I want you to help me, but I don't like telling them how much is
Mhm.
also important. Um,
True. That's a
yeah.
good.
Yeah. When I'm actually starting to like change up my training schedule, because like I used to train early, like as crack of dawn, like Laura. And
Yeah.
then I saw the benefit of having Eric as a training partner. So then I started doing it after work with him. And there's just too many people for my comfort level. And they have tripods and stuff like that. And they're not really filming for their coach. It's more for the gram. And sometimes that gets on
Yeah.
my nerves. So I'm now with the Mega Santa Barbara time, like 10, 11 a.m., kind of like that sweet
Mhm.
spot. And I'm having great workouts. But since Eric isn't there to spot me, I will literally go up to the biggest fucking person there and be like, yo, can you spot me? Right. And of course, you get like a little eyebrow raise because, I'm 130 pounds and they're like 220 plus. And then they see me train and they're like, oh, okay, respect. But I get that I'm kind of like a no fucks given type of person, and not everyone has the level of confidence or fuck off that I have. So I would just pick someone that you respect. Maybe someone that you like, do the sup when you're like walking in the gym, or someone that you wave to that you kind of know. Ask if you mind them to help spot you. Or, maybe you do have like a gym buddy that, you kind of like, work in with each other or something like that. But like someone that you're comfortable with, give them spotting cues that you want them to spot you on, certain cues that you want them to maybe say to you. I have this one girl, Becca. She's my drop set leg press girl. I'll like look at her when she's like resting and I'll be like, and she'll like, you need a spot. I was like, yeah, I do. And so I was like, okay, same thing. I'm gonna go 2 to 3 RIR on this working set. You rip off the quarters and you just let me go. I was like, you can yell at me, you can scream at me, or you can even leave, because the leg press is safe enough where when I fail, like I'm gonna have my knees up to my ears, but it's not gonna cause me any pain. And she stays. Like, she is so nice. She rips off the quarters and even re-racks them on the machine for me while I'm doing a death
Oh,
set. Like, she is like so etiquette perfect. I was like, girl, Becca, hell yeah. And she'll stay and she'll scream at me. She'll be like, come on, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. I'm like, God damn it, Becca. But she's good, right? And so we just have this like little friendly relationship at the gym. And I think that's really cool. So, especially for a woman to ask another woman, oh, yes, female empowerment. Show up for the women at the gym, because I want to start a movement where we get away from the pink dumbbells and we like start hauling ass, right? Because like that's what we need right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it can be very nerve-wracking though. But it's good to know, like, I mean, I'm a pro. I've been training for quite some time now, and I still text my boyfriend who lives in the UK saying I'm scared to ask for a spot. Like, you're not alone. So don't don't think you are at all. But did we want to kind of touch on what we're doing for our training right now and like maybe how it's been different like the past year? Because I think recently is when, well, we've all been training hard, but I think really recently, like in the past 2 years or so, we've took it to a new level. So if there's anything that we've changed that we can talk about a little bit. If you want to start, Laura, Miss Wellness Girl. Well,
Sure, yeah. I would say my training's changed a lot just in the last year. I mean, a lot of that
mhm.
was accredited to Josh training me and like kind of stripping me back from the volume of training I was doing initially, and like also showing me like I thought that I was taking sets to failure and was strong and whatnot, but like a lot of it was with shit form, which accomplishes some, but not as much as the full potential could. Like I do think that there is some benefit too of moving heavy weight and being able to still benefit from it. But the more you can hone in on getting your form to be perfect, the more you're really going to be able to utilize that technique and everything else. And I used to train upper body 2, sometimes 3 times a week, and now I train it once. Which is sad because I actually enjoy training upper body. I'm that girl. I have implants, but I like training chest. I haven't trained chest or arms in over a year. Biceps still have no quit. Don't ask me how. I don't know. Kind of like you're saying with your lats and whatnot. I don't know, just the way I guess genetically or from being younger and the gymnast and all that. But I have one upper body day that I hit basically back and delts, and more so delts than anything. I think that you do hit other muscle groups just from being assisting muscles, and then having to really hone in and get good at how I am specifying my training for wellness, because I am doing 4 leg days a week and trying to have as little overlap as possible so I can recover. That usually looks like a full leg day, a solely glutes day, a solely quads day, and then a hamstring and glutes day, heavier on the glutes. For me personally, I am someone who can train glutes more frequently and recover from it, even having some sets, some exercises that I will definitely go like full failure, 6 to 8 rep range heavy. But I think also too how you're programming your volume for exercises will be taken into account for overall fatigue, what you're trying to accomplish and whatnot. Like there's certain exercises that I would say go higher volume on. So it really depends. And then being able to fill in different rep ranges too. So you're getting the hypertrophy benefits as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really important. Like, I don't want to go down the super sciencey, the science hole. I'm saying hole a lot in this podcast. I'm sorry, guys. But when you were thinking about like what grows muscle in terms of like actual hypertrophy, we need mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and muscle damage. Like those are like the holy grail, the trifecta. And so I like to program for myself and my athletes a wide range of intentional intensity, but a wide range of rep ranges. And so there are some exercises, usually like our heavier compounds, like our deadlifts, our squats, our shoulder presses, stuff like that, where we will be lifting in the lower rep range. 6 is usually about as low as I'll go, since we're not really primarily concerned with like being like strength athletes. I usually don't program less than 6, but usually like 6 to 8, maybe 10. And then sometimes with some exercises that are either smaller or maybe they have a harder time connecting due to just inexperience, I might bump up the rep range just a little bit. But to create that metabolic stress and kind of like that cell swelling, I actually don't mind programming like 10, 15, sometimes 20, 25 to really get blood flow in that tissue. Also, it can be a lot more fun I say fun because I'm a little fucked up on things like leg presses, because I'm able to generate a certain level of intensity while maintaining good muscle connection. But the minute I start to go really heavy on the leg press, what I'll do is like I almost make it like a set extender where I'll like have 2 or 3 really good consecutive reps and then start to lose my breath. And so then I'm like holding it at the top and like and like breathing like a heavy person for like 6 seconds, and then I'll do another couple of reps. That's not really creating the tension that I'm personally wanting. So I usually do higher volume, but for me, anywhere between 6 reps to 25 reps is usually what I'll be creative with, depending upon the body part, depending upon maybe like a specialization phase, if we're trying to specifically bring up like a lagging body part. But I'm not really married to any type of training style, because I understand now that everything has a time and a purpose. And depending upon the athlete and what they enjoy, we'll talk about it so that way they can be adherent and they're having fun and they're pushing themselves. But if they're not enjoying like, the 25 rep range, well, guess what? They're probably not going to push themselves. So then it's like we titrate that down so that way they can bring intensity, they have enjoyment, and they're adherent too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's important to know that like hypertrophy can range in that big of a, rep range. I know if I program something high rep, I always say like in parentheses, this does not mean go light. Like, yeah, I'm like, I get so confused when people just think like, oh, 20 reps, that means like lighter weight, or like it doesn't mean that. Like you just need to tap into like that mental fortitude, like to push yourself past the comfort level of like the lower volume reps. But I know Laura kind of touched on one kind of wellnessy split, and I'm a little bit the same. I'm training legs 4 days per week as well, but sans upper body completely. I'm not touching that. I try to get away with like, 1 to 2 upper body sessions. I was like, oh yeah, it's not growing, it's fine. Like it's just pump work. But that was still like holding me back. And even like not training it at all, I can go like do a pull-up, take a picture of it, and I look like I could like step on stage as a WPD girl.
You do.
So I hate it. People say I'm like blessed with the genetics with the upper body thing, and I'm like, I hate it because it doesn't go away. But even recently, like now Tar is taking over my training. He's programming for me, and I've never like trusted anyone with my training before. I don't know why. I've just been very stubborn and in my ways. But he even like moved like my favorite freaking movement, which is
He
barbell
like,
RDL.
I was just about to say he took it
Yeah.
down.
Well, first he took it out completely, and I was like, so babe, I realized we're not doing it. So what's that about? And he's like, I'm like on my Excel spreadsheet, like texting him this, and I see him like get on, and I'm like typing, I'm like, we can add it in here. And so we did add it in, but we're really focusing on like the tempo of it. We're literally, I think it's like my last or second to last exercise. So I'm gonna be fucking fatigued. But like I'm just strong with it. And that's
He
kind
giving
of
you
where
a weight cap?
huh?
He giving you a weight cap?
No, so we're just keeping the reps high. And since we're gonna see like where my fatigue is at that point in the session, I probably won't be able to do my 335. Like even like 335, like I'm doing it for reps. Like I'm not just doing it for 6 reps. Like I'm up to like 10, 12 reps with it. But
I was just gonna say, Ashley and I are gonna get videos of you doing 335 for like 20, 25 reps.
I'm gonna probably
I'm like,
this
Eh.
is at the time.
Meg's like,
But
fuck you guys.
told you I could.
but I even sent like that video to Cameron, my coach. And he was like, yeah, we just need to focus on literally controlling every single point of the movement. Because it's not like I'm like ripping it off the ground. It's like junky reps, but it can just be more controlled and more honed in on the hamstrings and the glutes, which my hamstrings are what needs to be brought up in order for me to get the green light to prep. So I am taking this very seriously. I'm gonna let my ego take the back seat. That's why I'm like, Tar, you have full control over my training. Like even last night, like it's 6:30 at night, I'm at the gym and texting him. He's like laying in bed and I'm sending him training footage. I'm like, should I go up and wait? What weight should I use? And he's like, do this, do that. And I'm like, all right. Like it's just like I turned my head off and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go. So that's where I'm at. Focusing
Yeah.
on more glutes and hams.
It's 12:30
Hmm?
in the morning for him.
Yeah, it was pretty late there. It was like
Like
11:30.
I'm regretting this decision already.
Yeah, he says he was forced into it, but I definitely asked him. Like I want him to. Like I've never had anybody do it, so I'm like, you have it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be
Yeah,
good. I'm
that's
excited.
awesome. No, that's really, really awesome. I actually did something, I did the exact opposite of what Meg did is I took over my training. It's not that I didn't like Austin's training, because again, like he is my mentor, he is my coach. And so a lot of what he taught me, like I take into consideration with how I program, but I wanted to prove to myself that I knew how to program for bikini, especially because I'm gunning for a lot of bikini athletes right now and a lot of like figure athletes. It's like I need to know and prove to myself that I know what the fuck's up. So I took over my programming in my growth phase. And what I did during the growth phase is I had like, I would say 2.5 lower body days. So I had like one day that was like quote unquote bikini. So it was like glutes and delts. So like it wasn't a full on training session, but it was heavily glute focused and with some lateral delts as well. But the other two were like a glute quad and then a quad, or then a glute quad and then a glute ham. And so now that I'm no longer like in a growth phase and we're like doing a mini cut or whatever, I swear to God, as soon as I got sick with COVID, like my recovery went. So I couldn't recover from 2.5 leg days a week. So what I did is I went to a glute quad and then a glute ham and then an upper delt chest focus and then a back delt focus. And I'm able to recover from that pretty well. And especially with like my left lat needing a lot of love and attention, having a full on back day again is helping, because again, even though we don't want like flared lats and bikini, like we do want that nice, like, side lat when you're in your front pose to have a little bit of shape. So it is important to train your back as a bikini athlete, but it's still hard training, right? It's still like hard and intense, even though I'm dieting, right? Like, yes, I'm burning calories when I'm training, but when I'm training, I'm not worried about burning calories. I'm worrying about preserving my strength and preserving the muscle tissue that I work so hard for and ate so well for during my growth phase. And so the intensity is still high. The weights are as high as I can do it with good form. And even though we've been dieting for, I want to say 8 weeks, maybe, I'm still having PRs, right? I'm still like beating the logbook. So don't immediately think that just because you're in a dieting phase that like your strength's going to go to crap. Now, in a contest prep setting, you're starting to get 4 weeks out. Yeah, your strength is either going to maintain or maybe start to dip a little bit, probably start to dip. But the minute you get a food cut, you should still be fine, in my opinion. Like it's all up here if you think your strength's like going to go to poo poo the first carb cut you get.
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing that you brought up because I don't know why, but still some people just assume, oh, once I'm in contest prep, I need to throw in jump squats during like my rest period. So I'm constantly burning calories. I need to lower the weight. I need to do higher volume, higher reps. Like, no, the way that you built the muscle is how we're going to retain the muscle in prep. Like enhanced or natural, it doesn't fucking matter. Like if you learn how to properly train and properly tap into that intensity level that we're talking about, that should carry you throughout your prep. Even when like strength dips, you can still fall back on, okay, my strength is lower, but I can still push my intensity. So, intensity does not equal X amount of weight on the bar by any means.
No training.
No pussy training. Yes,
You know what?
exactly.
I actually say pussy trading, and hear me out. But no, hear me out. Hear me out. Pussies take a pounding. Do we not? Do we not take
They
a
do.
beating and they still show up? A ball sack, one flick, and the man's down on the ground. So I actually want to see pussy sets. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see ball sack sets. So that's what I have my athletes do. It's like, I'll be like, was that a pussy set or a ball sack sweat? And they'll look at it. They'll be like, that was a pussy set. I'm like, yeah, take a pounding. Good job. So that's my 2 cents.
I've seen you write your stories. But I think that's a good, I think we've touched on most of all of it, right?
We're exiting on that, leaving on a high
I think, yeah, but what we want you to do, our listeners, our lovely supporters, is to tag us in your, what are we calling them, Ash?
The DNR, the do not resuscitate sets.
Yes, the DNR sets. We don't want you to actually die, so don't
actually die
yourself.
On safe exercises.
Yes. Practice safe sets.
Like a free bar squat, have somebody there squat.
Yeah. But we just want to see you guys train hard as shit, because we know that you can. It's literally all in your head. Yeah. And once you tap into that intensity, honestly, training's fucking fun. Like sometimes like I want to leave, I want to cry. Okay. Like it happens still. But at the end of the day, after a hard ass set, I'm like, fuck yeah. I'm happy that I showed up and I put in the work. So we just want to empower you to, empower yourself and push some freaking weight and push some intensity in the gym.
Hell yeah. Honestly, what I'd love to do is once we get this started and actually like starting a movement, I want us to create beanies, dad caps, bras, like little booty shorts that says DNR. So
yeah, like the juicy sweats with the rhinestones, DNR on the booty.